Today we're going to look at one of the most essential Italian verbs, the verb essere, which means to be. We're going to conjugate it in 4 different tenses: the present tense, the imperfetto, and the passato prossimo. These are the 2 most important past tenses in Italian, and in the future tense, just for fun. If you're new to the channel, my name is Manu Venditti and this is Italy Made Easy, the channel that focuses on making the Italian language and culture easy to access. So let's start with essere in the present tense. This is probably the first verb you learn as you start learning Italian, and let's look at how it's conjugated and what it means. Io sono. Io sono. This is a basic I am. The good thing about Italian is that we can even drop the subject, so we can just say sono Emanuele, I'm Emmanuel, sono italiano, I'm Italian, sono contento, I'm happy. The peculiar thing about the verb to be is that whatever follows has to match the gender and number of the subject, because it's the description of the subject, and so this means a woman would say sono italiana, sono contenta, and things like that. So io sono, I am. Tu sei, you are. Tu sei americana, tu sei americano. Tu sei alta, tu sei alto. Lei è, lei è. Lei è can be tricky because it has 2 meanings. Lei usually means she, so lei è americana, she's American. But lei can also be used to talk to a person that you don't know formally. And so I can tell you in person, face to face, lei è americana? Are you American? Lei è americano? Are you American? To a man. Yes, that's how cool that is. Lui è. He is. Lui è l'amico di Roberta. Lui è stanco. Noi siamo. Noi siamo. We are. Noi siamo amici. We are friends. Voi siete. Voi siete studenti. You guys are student. Loro sono. Loro sono italiani. They are Italian. So you might be saying, Manu, hold on. How is it possible that sono means I am and they are? Isn't that confusing, especially if you drop the subject? And it's not, because of what I said earlier, that whatever follows the verb to be is an adjective that describes the subject. And so if I say sono italiano, that means I'm talking about me because italiano was in the singular, which you might not know yet, I understand. And if I say sono italiani, then italiani being a plural would refer to they are Italian. So yeah, no confusion there. Let's look at some examples in Italian, and I encourage you to repeat after me, even if you don't know much Italian. Let's do it. Sono Manu e sono italiano. Sono Manu e sono italiano. Sei troppo stanca per uscire? Sei troppo stanca per uscire? Questi sono i miei libri preferiti. Questi sono i miei libri preferiti. Overall, in most cases, the Italian verb essere corresponds to the English to be, and you can almost always use it the same way, but there are 2 big exceptions. One is we don't tell the age with the verb to be like you do in English. So we don't say sono 43 anni. We use the verb avere that we're going to cover in this video here, but avere means to have, and so we actually say I have 43 years of age instead of I am. So don't use sono or essere to describe your age. And as you progress with your Italian, you'll also realize that we don't use essere to create the continuous form like in English, I'm speaking. We don't use the verb to be for that one. We use the verb to stay, stare. Sto parlando, sto parlando. Moving on to the imperfetto. Now, the imperfetto is an Italian past tense that is used to describe things or states in the past. It's not used to talk about things that took place, but it's a description. Let's look at the conjugation. Essere is irregular in the present tense, and it is also irregular, meaning it's got a strange conjugation, quite unique, in the imperfetto. And it goes like this. Io ero, I was. Tu eri, you were. Lei era, Lei era. She was, or you, sir, you, ma'am, was, were. Lui era. Lui era, he was. Noi eravamo. Noi eravamo. Voi eravate. Voi eravate. Loro erano. Loro erano. E adesso qualche esempio in italiano. Being the verb essere, a verb that requires a description afterwards, you could say things like io ero stanco. Ieri ero stanco. Yesterday I was tired. I'm describing myself yesterday. So, ieri ero stanco. Da bambini eravamo amici. Da bambini eravamo amici. As kids we were friends. Stuff like that. Da piccolo ero una peste. È vero. Da piccolo ero una peste. Ieri era una bellissima giornata. Ieri era una bellissima giornata. Eravate interessati in questa offerta? Eravate interessati in questa offerta? As you can see in this last example, we use the Italian imperfetto just like we use the English past tense to make a soft suggestion. Were you interested in this offer right now? So it's an imperfetto that it talks about the present. It's odd, but we do the same in English. The next tense that we're looking at is the passato prossimo. The passato prossimo, it's an Italian past tense, another one, that it's used for things that took place or didn't take place in the past at a certain point in time. So it's not used to describe things, but it's to say that something took place. The Italian passato prossimo looks the same as the English present perfect, I have worked, for example, but it's quite tricky and we're not going to get into the details how it works because you'll learn it when you get there. Hopefully I can teach you that in one of my courses, but the passato prossimo goes like this. It's got two words and the first word is what we call the auxiliary verb. It's a helping verb, like in English, I have been. The have is the helping verb to make be expressed in the past tense. So in Italian, we have two options for that auxiliary verb. And for the verb essere, the auxiliary verb is essere. So as odd as it sounds, we are going to end up with things like this. Io sono stato. Io sono stato. I have been or I was. It could also mean I was. The second word is what we call a past participle. And it's another complicated thing, maybe too advanced, but I just want to show you how essere sounds like and looks like in this very important tense. Io sono stato. Io sono stato. I was or I have been. Going back to what I said earlier, everything that you say using the verb essere describes the subject. So a woman would say, io sono stata. I have been or I was. For example, io sono stato in America. I've been or I was in the States. Mia sorella è stata in America. Mia sorella è stata in America. My sister was in the States or has been to the States. So, moving on. Tu sei stato. Tu sei stata. Lei è stata. Lui è stato. As you can see, we are basically using the present tense that we learned earlier of essere to create this new tense, which is the passato prossimo. The good news is that, as you can see, the second word, that stato, is always the same, and so there's not much to learn, and you can already speak in the past tense, which is pretty fantastico. Noi siamo stati. Noi siamo stati. When the subject is a singular, like io, tu, lei, or lui, stato can be stata for the feminine. When we get to the plural, like noi, all of us, stato doesn't work anymore because stato means been for a single male. So for plural, we would have to say stati for male and state for female. Noi siamo stati. We've been. We were. Noi siamo state. Noi, girls, have been. Were. Voi siete stati. Voi siete state. Loro sono stati. Loro sono state. E adesso qualche esempio. Sei mai stata in Sicilia? È bellissima. Sei mai stata in Sicilia? È bellissima. Mio cugino è stato male per 2 o 3 mesi, ma adesso sta meglio. Mio cugino è stato male per 2 o 3 mesi, ma adesso sta meglio. Io e Mauro siamo già stati a Firenze, ma mai a Pisa. Io e Mauro siamo già stati a Firenze, ma mai a Pisa. Now, the next tense you're going to learn, or at least see how essere works in this tense, is the Italian future tense. The Italian future tense has a really cool peculiarity, is that we hardly ever use it to talk about future events. We use it mostly to make assumptions and guesses, or to talk about future events for which we're not sure about. So there's a sense of improbability. Again, as typical for the verb essere, it's irregular in the future tense as well, which means that this conjugation that you're going to see now is only specific to the verb essere, and it cannot be recycled for other verbs, which is the case for all regular verbs. Usually they have the same kind of pattern. Essere doesn't have the same pattern as anything else, or almost anything else. Anyway, let's look at how it works. Io sarò. Io sarò. This means I will be. The good thing about sarò is that it doesn't have to change, man or woman, doesn't matter. It's io sarò, I will be. Make sure that you put the stress on the sarò, on the ro part, because that's what makes it sound like a future to us. Tu sarai. Tu sarai. Lei sarà. Lui sarà. Again, stress the ra, otherwise you're saying the name Sara if you don't get the stress right. Lei sarà, lui sarà. Noi saremo. Noi saremo. We will be. Voi sarete. Voi sarete. Loro saranno. Loro saranno. And now some examples to make sense of this. Mio figlio dice che da grande sarà pompiere. Mio figlio dice che da grande sarà pompiere. Che giorno è oggi? Boh, sarà martedì? Boh, sarà martedì. As you can see here, I've used the future tense to make an assumption on what day of the week today might be. In English, we tend to do the same with must. So, what's the day today? Oh, it must be Tuesday. Or we could also use should. Oh, should be Tuesday. In Italiano, we use the future tense. And so, boh, sarà martedì literally is, I don't know, it will be Tuesday. But what I'm actually saying is, I guess it is Tuesday. Un giorno sarete tutti ricchi. Un giorno sarete tutti ricchi. As you can see, I've used the future tense to talk about something in the future, but I don't know when or whether you will all be rich. I hope so, but we don't know. And that's it. You have just learned how to use the Italian verb essere in the present tense, the imperfetto to describe things in the past, the passato prossimo for things that took place in the past, and in the future tense, usually to make assumptions or to talk about improbable or unknown future events. This is the Italian language, and this was Italy Made Easy, making it easy for you.